Welcome, welcome, wonderful listeners, to the very first exciting episode of the Young and Successful podcast, where we decode the secrets to success and discuss all the ways you can make your first millions. I am your host, Carl Grin, and I am thrilled to have you join us on this journey of education, inspiration, and true stories told by real millionaires to enlighten you, our listeners. Now, we get it. The path to $1 million can seem like a daunting task, but fear not. Here on the Young and Successful podcast, we are here to guide you through the twists and turns with a lighthearted touch. We believe the money-making journey not to be just profitable, but downright enjoyable. And let's not forget our mantra. There's a million ways to make $1 million, and we're here to discuss it all. Whether you're into entrepreneurial ventures, savvy investments, or just curious about the diverse paths to financial success, we've got something for you. We are all about giving back on the Young and Successful podcast. No courses are being sold, no information will ever be behind a paywall, and all of our guests are coming on to help educate, add more tools to the toolbox, and give back. Following that, just as a reminder, all earnings from all sponsorships and advertisements will go directly to charity that aims at helping underprivileged youth. So buckle up, grab your favorite beverage, and get ready for an episode filled with tips, tricks, and tales of triumph. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur, a side hustler, or just someone with a dream and a dollar sign in your eyes, we've got something for you. And remember, success doesn't always have to be serious. Let's make that first million with a smile on our face and a skip in our step. Get ready to be young, successful, and have a blast while doing it. Now, let's dive into the money-making magic. So, Maxim Sindall, how you been, buddy?
I'm doing good.
You doing good?
I'm happy to be here. On the podcast, first episode.
Very first episode, first guest. This is pretty exciting.
It's very exciting.
So I know all about who you are, and I can go on for hours about all the stories of little 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old Max. But who are you?
So, where do we start? I've been raised by some very interesting parents that have done some cool things, and they've kind of given me an experience which has made me who I am. And I feel like it's I can't speak about myself without speaking about them. And so they were both Ukrainian refugees that emigrated from the Soviet Union in the 70s to Canada. And my mother came when she was 11, got a PhD from Cambridge University when she was 21, and tenured by the University of Toronto when she was 24. And my dad's crazy scientist, travels all over the world, does crazy things. And I, because of that, I've been exposed to a lot of things. And that's one of the ways I met Carl. So I was 4 years old. My mom was like, you know what? Like, I want to send you to summer camp. I want you to do something. And we were going for summer camps. And, I pointed at something supposedly. And she's like, okay, let me drive you there and I'll drop you off. And so I signed up for the hockey program and at Winning Techniques camp. And I had no idea how to play hockey. My mother's like, look, if he focuses on holding a hockey stick and skating, I'll figure out how to balance, because I'll learn how to skate. Mm-hmm. And I didn't learn how to skate, actually, and I met Carl when he was a couple years older than me.
Yeah, probably 7. I helped you learn to skate. We put you in our figure skating program, just what my parents were, taught you to skate. And then a few years later, when you were 7, you stole a bunch of cash, came up to camp all by yourself, and
now you're here. A Greyhound, yeah. And then from there, I went skipping through a couple of years. I went to an international traveling high school, so that was a really cool experience. I lived in 8 countries over 2 years. Lived in Botswana, India, Japan, Greece, China, Oman, Costa Rica, and then I graduated in Greece. And everything we did there was through project-based learning. So we learned through doing, creating projects, executing on things. And from there, it kind of set my bedrock and foundation. School's called Think Global School, by the way. Great place. And I went to University of Toronto Engineering. Didn't last too long. Dropped out, started a company with Majd called Altura that worked in gaming development. And then I had an opportunity to invest into it, and be a part of a bankrupt bakery. And that bakery has gone a long ways from where it was today. And now I'm working on that full time.
Yeah, it kind of came pretty quick to that young millionaire status of a millionaire under 30. That's pretty impressive, all within about a year there. I'd like to quickly add on the point. I think it's really important that Max was going to U of T for engineering, and his mother has a PhD in engineering and used to be a
Yes.
professor there, gave him her blessing to
Yes. To
actually
leave.
drop out.
Yes. And so that was really because I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I knew that my mother was like wasn't fully there. And I look, U of T has been around since well, the 1860s. I can always go back. But what I was doing at the time, I can't just go back to. So I thought it was a good choice, and the experience that I did through actually learning through doing and not knowing what to do and being confused and lost is 1,000 times more from what I could have learned actually going and sitting in class university. And engineering is great, but I don't know how many bridges I'm actually going to build. So it worked out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that kind of segues in pretty well into our what inspired you. You kind of talked about the inspirations you had in your life with your parents and kind of how you grew up. But was there any specific moment that inspired you to found the first business out there
Yes,
or
there
jump
was.
into baking?
There was.
Okay,
There was.
let's
There
hear
was. There
this.
was. There was. So there was a documentary on Netflix, and I was sitting at home. It was like COVID at the time, and so there's like nothing going on. And it's about these two Russian dudes in Miami that were transporting cocaine from Colombia, no, for Cuba to Miami, right? And they're trying to find better ways to transport this coke from Colombia to Miami. And they're like, okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to go to now. It's like the late mid 90s, so they fly to the Soviet Union and well, the now collapsed Soviet Union, and it says, okay, I want to buy, nuclear submarine. And it's like with the nukes or with not the nukes, with no nukes. And I was like, I saw that, and I was like, fuck yeah. It's like if why can't like they just did that? They just went and bought a nuclear submarine. Okay, what's stopping me from doing anything I want? So I was talking to
Fair,
Majd.
fair.
It's like anything is possible, right? I saw that. I'm like, look, I'm not gonna do anything with the drug trade, whatever,
Nukes or cocaine? I hope
nukes or
not.
cocaine.
Knowing you,
That's not what I'm interested in. But the fact that these people woke up that morning and said, we're gonna fly to Russia and buy an ex-Soviet nuclear submarine to transport coke, it's such a wild story. And I was like, anything in life is possible. So right after watching that movie, I called Maj, my first
co-founder.
partner,
Yeah,
co-founder in my first company, Altero, and started yelling at him for the first hour, saying like, we can do something together. There's like something that's possible here. Let's do it. And our first ideas were awful. They were not good, but it worked out. And like a lot of, I think, good timing, luck, and things have brought me where I am today, but it was always a lot of hard work that took me and to the
yeah,
places where got to
yeah.
me
And
to
I'd
where
say
I
that
am.
kind of kept that same mindset when you transitioned out of that Web3 and NFT and crypto space into baking. That's the same mindset as who thinks this NFT, this UFT dropout that where NFTs can now run a major commercial bakery. Like, it's like most people in life would be like, no, you can't do that. You don't know anything about baking. You don't know anything about that. You're a kid. What do you mean? You're gonna make bread and sell it at Walmart? What?
Yeah, I've no like when I started, I didn't even know how bread rose. Like you asked me like what's the main ingredient that made bread rise? It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I
So
have no idea.
and then you just chose and just you've had some good mentors in that way, but have you had any major challenges in that new business venture other than jumping in completely green, knowing no idea what you're going to do? Any crazy challenges
Oh
in that?
my god. Okay, well I'll tell you a good challenge. So we first we got HelloFresh as a client, so we are supplying all burger buns across about 65% of Canada's HelloFresh business. So any burger bun, all the Canadians out there, you likely had one of the burger buns from my facility. And when we first
Straight out
started,
Golden Bake Shop.
Golden Bake Shop, yes, of course, only buy your bread from Golden Bake Shop. You
Walmart.
better.
Where, okay, quick. Where else are you in right
We're
now?
nationally for Walmart. We're actually doing some stuff with Metro. There's a bunch of retail. You're gonna see us everywhere going forward. 2024 and 2025. Golden will be there in the U.S. as well.
From when? How long ago did you buy it?
So we came in as a group in 2022 of February, and then there were some issues with the operations and the people there, and so I came in on November of 2022, and we fully took over February 2023 with my other operating partner.
So it's basically been a year from a business that
It,
wasn't functioning. Now you're in Walmart. Now
yep,
you're in, I
we're
don't know,
in
Fisher.
over probably close to 1,000 over 1,000 stores now, in less than a year. So
Okay.
it's
So now that puts some context into these crazy stories you're going to be saying, or any of these challenges you've had to overcome. We wanted to know where you at least
Yeah,
were
it's
right
fair.
now.
It's fair
Yeah.
because we it was a rough start in the beginning. It was like dealing with people it was really difficult. It was like really trudging through, and then eventually we caught some steam and we were getting ourselves out there, and it really helped. But so essentially, we knew there was HelloFresh. They want to change the supplier, and the initial supplier went bankrupt, right? So there was no supplier, and they were haggling on us on price here and there, and um, they basically said, we had a price, and there was a big miscommunication on. They thought the pricing was not per unit, but it was we per bun, and they didn't realize that the cost was double what it was, but they sure knew it was that price. They were just, I'm sure they went to the VP, and the VP was like, no, we're not doing that price. They're trying to haggle with them. And anyways, it was a shit show, and they're like, we're not doing it. I'm like, okay, fine. We're not gonna do it at this price. Like you're not gonna find anyone else to do it. And then 3 days later, they're like, okay, fine. 4 cents less, we got a deal. I'm like, okay, perfect, done. But the problem was because the other supplier went bankrupt, they had no burger buns left. So they gave us, for the next 4 weeks, a truckload a week of burger buns. So it's like 100,000 burger buns a week that we've never product that we ever produced before, and we had no idea how to do it commercially, like properly. Like it takes like time to like
Yeah.
develop a product line.
And it's also like you've made burger buns before either.
No, it's exactly. It's like we had the recipe. We had the things figured out, but producing 100,000 buns without doing them before per week is not easy. So we like the next 4 weeks
Yeah, so what'd you do?
was a
How'd you
rough
fix
month. I
that?
didn't sleep.
Well, I knew that, but like, how'd you fix it other than just not going to bed?
So
Is there any
got a
real?
new machine, and now we got people more efficient. There's a lot of things like we learned as a company, as a teams, the teams that are running there,
Yeah.
how to do that product properly. And I'm glad it worked out because now we're a lot more efficient. We have no problems. We got things done quickly, so it's good. It's a learning curve. What can be said?
Yeah, well, that was definitely success in the way that you started that and actually got it done.
Yeah.
That gives a good transition into how would you define success? I know there's many different, in this podcast, the whole idea is millionaires under 30, they've all made it in different industries and lots of different determinations of success.
Hmm.
When we were kids growing up at the camp there, our definition of success sometimes was getting up on water skis, doing a backflip on the ground, doing a backflip
Yeah.
on the trampoline. Like, what do you define success at? Because we're down here in your apartment now. This is a beautiful place. You run a cool business. You commute opposite to everybody else. Like, you're a successful young man, but how does Max Sindel, how do you define success? What is that to you? Is that solving problems at a bakery? Is that having a hot tub every morning? Like, what is Max's success?
Yeah.
100 push-ups? Like, what is it?
The push-ups. Yeah, the push-ups. No. I think it all comes down to, like, a lot of people can have a lot of money and really be unhappy. And it really comes down to the mindset you hold and how you carry yourself through life. And I think that is what, even if you're not particularly wealthy, if you have a rich mindset, you attract rich people in your lives. And that the word rich can mean many things, like
I'm
high
happy you,
quality
happy
people.
you said that because there's a lot of definitions of rich.
There's a lot of
We have a
different
lot of rich conversations. It's not like I'm spending money talking to you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the richness in what you do, the richness in what you eat, the richness of the people you hang out with. Um, it goes a lot further than that. And you can hang out with a lot of people that made a lot of money, but aren't very nice, or don't really treat you that well, and that's not a great relationship. Maybe it's someone that's the homeless guy living across the street. You have a great relationship with him, and you have good laughter.
So
It's
so that's how you got here.
what?
Meeting the homeless guy.
No,
Yeah.
well, not particularly, but um,
So I find Max on
it's
Tuesday
it's
nights out roaming the streets of Toronto, speaking to homeless people for advice. Got
that's
it.
yeah, that's how that's how it got here. Yeah, it's I think it's what I'm trying to say. Really, just it's a holistic thing. It's money, of course, is important, but it's what you do and the journey you take in order to get there. Because honestly, things have gone really fast for me. Like I've been very lucky in that regard. But I appreciate because we're social beings, we're social animals, right? As humans, being together with people that I love and care about, and having an environment that I've worked for, and these are the things I care about, creating high quality environments.
I'm happy you brought up the topic of luck because I think you've been pretty lucky in a lot of ways, but not because you just, fell into it like the
Mm,
roll of the dice. I feel that, like we've discussed this a few times, that you can make your own luck. You can work harder and
yes.
give yourself more opportunities. Luck comes when you put yourself out there, right? Like as idea, it's
Yeah.
like they got lucky buying that nuclear submarine, right? Those
Yeah. Yeah.
cooked it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
they wouldn't
Like,
have known. Like you have to go searching for the opportunities. You don't
yeah.
just sit at home in your bed on Netflix looking for luck. No, you're actually out there. You were making connections. This whole bread bakery thing was somewhat lucky you stroked into it, and then lucky a lot of things. Like, but it's all because you put yourself out there and you
Yes.
worked for those opportunities. So
Exactly.
I like that you brought up the idea of luck, and that aspect is things cannot go your way sometimes.
Yeah.
Things can go your way, and you've had a lot of things go your way, and a lot of things go not your way. The 100,000 button things. Like you've worked through a lot of difficult situations in your life. And it's been interesting to see you grow over the past 2 or 3 years from this high school kid that and traveled all around the world and stuff, but to this
Yeah.
successful businessman. So I want to touch back on the idea of your mindset. You brought it up there that success and wealth and rich conversations is a mindset. Is that something you get up every morning and say your affirmations in the mirror and go at your 4:30 run? Or what is your mindset? Like, how do you get yourself into a mindset to think rich and have rich conversations and have rich people? Like, do you just get up and be like, I'm loaded, I'm cool, I'm rich, like screw off, listen to me? Or like what is a rich mindset to you? Like how do
I
you
don't
get
know.
that?
I think it really comes down. The reason that I'm able to do what I do so young and I'm grateful for is the upbringing and the mindset I was raised with from a young age. About like because my parents are both crazy in a great way. I was kind of always thinking outside the box and looking at things in kind of a different lens. And I think because of that, I was jumping into a lot more things a lot and just putting myself out, trying, failing, and just seeing where things went. And I think just trying things
Hmm.
is the best thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
Going out, giving it your shot. Doesn't work out, doesn't work out. You learned a lesson. You probably learned a couple things. Um, but
Yeah. But how did like so you developed that mindset as a kid, you think? Or
I
it's
think I developed the mindset. Um, I think as a kid, but also just always pushing myself to grow and think differently and be open to outside perspectives. But that again is because the experiences I've had.
but
Uh,
I see your mindset grow, like your mental state and how, like I remember when we were first talking and you're running out there and I'm talking about me running an Amazon warehouse and I'm tired and I'm
yes.
these kind of things, and me running the biggest warehouse in
Yep.
Canada for Amazon, shipping out these 100,000 packages plus a night and all
Yep.
these people. And I'm like, you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. And then now you're running this bakery, you
And I
call me in the middle of the
really
night, you're
get
like,
it.
oh my goodness, this is not at all what I thought, right?
No,
So
no, no.
I see your mindset growing
Hmm.
regularly and changing, and that what you define success. Like some days your definition of success is just having a good sleep. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah.
Like
Oh yeah. It's been a long
it's
time.
not
It's
it's
been a
not
long
making
time.
money, but like some of the
Yeah.
days I'm like, you need a good sleep. Oh, come and we set up your house. We go like we do some nice things, but it's and eventually just to take a break from things, right? Like success on a day to day is a very different than a global scale as a whole,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
It's like okay. I don't wake up and do affirmations at 4:30 in the morning. I wake up because like there's something happening. Like there's things that I have to do on a daily basis, and I feel like I'm very responsible to things I need to do. So If I have to be up at 5:30 in the morning, 6 in the morning to get something done, I'm up and ready to go. I don't know, I feel like throughout the day, like I always think of what I'm thinking about what I could grow into and what I could be. I think it's like a constant thing that kind of circles through my mind on what I'm doing to be who I will be. Um, yeah, it's just, and then I also slow down. It's like it's fun, like what I'm going through and the journey that I'm on. It's fun, I'm having fun with it, even though it like sometimes I shake my head, look at myself in the mirror, I'm like going, "What the fuck did I get myself into?" But you know what?
You don't even look in the mirror. Sometimes you just call me. You're like, dude, where am I?
Yeah,
I'm like, you're at the bakery, bro. I'm going to pick you up. You're like, no, but like, how'd I get here?
how did I get? Like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Anyways, it's cool. I gotta say.
So were there any perspectives that changed it? Like there's a lot of people online, and there's the whole around the world. There's like you had a quote you live by, like some people are like, oh, the Yoda, do or do not, there is no try. Some kids really like the David Goggins. Who's gonna carry the boats? Is there like
Yes.
a mantra that you live by? Is there something that really changes like and drives you every day? Like, yeah, I
Hmm.
know you don't have quotes above your bedroom wall, and the wall here, it's not live, laugh, love. Is there something like that you
Could
really,
be.
it could be,
It could be.
because at camp we put up all the
It's really
quotes
cool.
around camp to help inspire kids and that kind of thing. And that's always been a thing my father likes, and the idea of taking like advice from great men and that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
I know we've read a lot of books and had a lot of discussions, but is there anything like you get up and think, yeah, this guy said this, I'm a stoic, Marcus Aurelius said this, is I read
A quote.
the
Okay,
Homer,
I
like,
think like the quote that I always go back to is from Andy Warhol, and it's not a quote that's particularly like inspiring or anything, but I always find it funny. The quote is "Think rich, look poor." That's it.
I think we got to work on the second one a little bit. We're not too bad at the first one.
I know, I know. Second
Yeah.
one I gotta work on, but
No,
there's
we
more
we
meaning to
don't dress
that.
too fancy, but like, oh no, it's funny that yeah, that's a good quote. I think I might bring that up in some of our next interviewees, that just see what they think.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
Just
it.
see what some of these other boys think that are coming on this the next couple days. Um, so was there any particular philosophies or principles, and like um this David Ramsey of the world, and there's other people, it's like, never spend more than you make, never go into debt. Is
Hmm.
there a philosophy? Because knowing your parents and knowing your family, that's like, I don't even know how to put it. They're just so outgoing and so like willing to try everything, like launching golf balls off the International Space Station. I'm
Yes,
sure
this.
we can get to those crazy
Yes,
stories,
yes,
and
we can.
throwing things up into space and running with some of the biggest mining companies in the world and listing things on the TSX. It's not like they're like, I only ever spent 27% of my income on housing. It's like,
No,
you know what I mean? Like, is there any like rule you've lived by financially, or have you been like all in all times for
I
what are you?
think the rule like financially is if uh, it's a hard one because what I kind of think is that in order, like, you can go get a job on Wall Street or Bay Street in the Canadian context, and make six figures, have a comfortable life, but there isn't growth to that. You don't have an exponential growth opportunity. And having stakes in businesses that do have an exponential growth opportunity that can really give you real wealth is where I think people should look into or venture into more, because your ability for growth personally is much, much higher in terms of who you're as a person, in terms of money, just in general, because you actually have a lot more control over your life when you have a stake in something.
Yeah, that's been an interesting impact you've had on me. Like I used to be your camp counselor.
Yes.
I've done a lot with you as like the older brother, the other counselor sibling, and I did my undergrad, I did my master's, I got schools at Amazon, and I was doing everything. And when I was making great money and like everything the book said, the white picket fence, you
Yes.
make this money, you had the dog, you got the house, you
Yep.
got the nice car, you got everything you want. I come down and saw you were just getting into your statement of wealth and status and income. You made a lot of
Yep.
money. You were just getting there. And it was interesting to see how exponentially you grew. And at first, I'm proud of you. And second, I'm like, what the heck have I done for the past 6 years, right? Like all my
Yeah.
masters and everything. So it put me through all those emotions. It's like, okay, so you're already here. You've already made it in this regard. And I'm like, I'm still getting there in my own regard. I have other things, but it's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
bro,
It's
I was like graduating from my master's, and like I was teaching, we were doing basic advice on stocks, and now you're like, I can buy that business. Like it's just changed so fast. And so that was like I came from a family of small business owners, and that was the thing, is growth in
Yeah.
business and exponential growth. But it was always a very you don't want to be overly leveraged. You don't want to be too far in debt. You don't want to
Yeah.
be those kind of
The thing
things.
is, that's why I go back to being lucky in a regard, because I took that leap of faith. But if you never take that leap of faith, you never have the chance to be lucky, right? And I think there's nothing wrong. Like, people are different. Some people are just don't have that drive to do that. But a lot of people do have that drive,
And
and
it can be taught, and it can be
it
learned.
can be taught. But it just, like
Some people just have the tenacity
the tenacity
naturally.
to really just push themselves forward. And for those people that are going to Wall Street and trying to climb through the corporate ladder, you know, to become a VP or a managing director at a bank, an investment bank, is there's so much more opportunity for your own personal development and growth if if you're financially able to and support yourself a little bit, to jump into something and try something out and learn from it, because the greatest things come from people that give people that the people that take that shot and leap and opportunity are the ones that have built a lot of things in the world
Mhm.
and created and founded ideas that have fundamentally changed the world. And one of those people could be you, right? That's like if you have an idea and you have the ability for to take a risk for the next 6 months. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be necessarily fun, but at least it's something that you're building for yourself and you're
Yeah.
learning for yourself on, if this goes well, to work on this thing, but to work on the next thing and grow. Even if you're 9 to 5, you still have, time to
Another
develop.
16 hours a day. Yeah.
Yeah, there's time.
Well, that's something that we've discussed too, and I've gone through hardships, and you've gone through hardships in the way that even if you learn what you don't like, you at least you learn something,
Yeah,
right? You
exactly.
learn where you don't want to be. So that kind of leads me into the idea of, we've had hardships, you and I both, about a lot of different
Mhm.
things. Is there anything that everybody can just see? Well, whenever you see on social media, the whole internet these days is all like, my life is so great, I'm so great, I have such a nice house, I drive such a nice car, everybody's life is so great. Has there been any like hardships you're willing to share? Something that was difficult that obviously wasn't expected, something backfired, your life got hard. We talked about sleep. Is there any hardship that you've had to overcome, you were able to overcome, or you're still working on right now due to this crazy nature, your exponential growth, and you being thrown into all these wonderful and crazy opportunities?
um Challenges, like, because I am so young, feeling a bit out of place with people that have been
Mm.
doing this for a very long time, especially in the commercial baking industry. It's like the average age is like 50, and they're all incredibly eccentric and kind of type alpha type personalities, because when you run such large organizations with a lot of blue collar workers, there's a lot of push and pull, and you have to really push yourself through, both actually quite a diverse, both female, male, but they're all very eccentric, very going forward type personalities. And it's, going so young and someone that's not very experienced in the whole industry, it is honestly a bit intimidating to try
Hmm.
to navigate through that. Um, but
You did transition from an industry in that NFT, crypto, Web3 space where kind of being young and ambitious was a little bit of the norm, right?
yeah,
Like
that is
it's
the
a
norm.
common thing. Yeah.
That
Like,
is the norm.
if you're 45, it's weird,
Yeah,
in that
exactly. They
space.
want the young guys to create the innovation in the space.
Yeah.
But
But now
for
you're
me,
going into baking and it's like, you're not
the opposite.
45. Who are you?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's like, what have you done in your
yeah.
life? So
That
it's
did
a
that
flip.
affect you? Was that take a mental toll on you at all? Because it was, I mean, there was lots to climb. There was a big hill there.
Yeah, it's better now.
It's good
I
now.
think I'm a lot more confident in my knowledge and what I do.
Is there
Um,
anything that helped you get through that? Was it, I know, like we've discussed, like, for example, see things that help you get better and
mm,
more strict physical regimen, at least in the way that you're going out and doing things physically, not just going to work, because you were so consumed there for so many weeks and months, and just getting up and going to your job and putting in these 12, 14, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. Um, you were looking tired. You were looking like you were having some, you were working hard, but actually getting out and eating a few meals and going something physical. Do you
yes.
find that helps? Because some people
Oh,
it
of
really
course.
does.
Yeah, well, I started working out about a year and a half ago consistently, and that has played a big help in my mental health. Just staying just centered and balanced. I think I'm pretty naturally balanced, but at least like any feelings throughout the day, just it would help ease that out and help me kind of go forward. Food's always great. I like good food,
Yeah,
good bread,
good bread
Golden
man.
Bake Shop.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not when I'm very busy and stressed, like I don't really eat well.
Is there any
So
significant like lessons you've learned from that then? Because you've done so much over the past 2 months, 2 years, 2 weeks. Like, you know what I mean? Is there any lessons that you have or valuable lessons you're like, oh yeah, I'm never going to do that again? That like in the context, like something you're like, oh boy, yeah, no.
just always have a new perspective, just an open perspective on things because the things you never expect will probably happen.
That
And
Murphy's Law,
Murphy's Law,
if it
yeah.
can happen, it will happen kind of thing.
Yeah,
That one, yeah.
exactly. And just keeping an open mind and just pushing myself to keep growing. Because if I keep doing that, I think there could be a lot of ways that I can build things that not just good for me, but are good for everybody, right? I want to do good things. And good things is so subjective because what one definition of something good, another definition of something good from another person can be complete polar opposites. But something that generally helps humanity move forward is my goal. And I to get there, I need to keep growing and growing to achieve that.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it was a big change from the Web3 space to the bread space. It's literally from the most out there, like nobody understands to
Yeah,
everybody understands when they're hungry and everybody understands when they're tired. So it's kind of a crazy
exactly.
change you've had. So that kind of leads me on a little bit to the idea of, have there been any mistakes or failures or something where you're like, I'm happy in the hindsight? You're like, oh, I'm happy I made that failure because, as we talked about earlier, now you know what you don't like. Is there anything in the baking business in the Altura, even at, like, I wouldn't consider your going to UFT a mistake at all
No,
because
absolutely
that's
not.
how,
That's how
but
everything
yeah,
started.
that's how everything started. But was there anything where you did something and you were like, okay, that was a little bit of a waste of time, but I'm happy I did it? Because you're still pretty young in a
Actually,
lot of ways, but
I don't think. I honestly don't think. I've been the way things have happened in my life. I wouldn't consider anything a waste of time because everything has built me to where I am today. Like
yeah,
when from COVID started, I actually worked like a laborer's job at a donut factory, and I was a mechanic. Oh, this is a funny story actually. It was I look, this guy was working with this Polish dude, and like his only goal in life was to find wife, and get visa. And I'm like, okay, this is great. And he's like,
simple. Those are goals.
it's
Yeah.
very very simple goals, and we had fun. We were building things, and I had no idea how to build things. I didn't know how to weld or anything like this. I'm still not a good welder whatsoever. Like you'd see my welds, you would laugh. But anyways, it's there. I tried these things. I
Your
grew.
carpentry's not horrible. You learned that with me as a kid.
Yes,
You
yes,
do know how to
Carl,
do
you
a
did
little bit. Your carpentry's not horrible.
because I was trained by you. But some
Yeah.
Polish guy that looks for a wife and
That
visa
does
is
finds the welding mask optional, that guy.
yeah, that guy. Yeah, the optional. Like I'm like no, like
Yeah,
this
that was
Polish guy was young guy. And he's like I don't need mask. I don't see well with it. I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't see well with it. He's like, look, the way you weld is that you you look and then you close eyes when weld and you open. I'm like, what about flash burn? He's like, oh, don't worry about flash burn. Just you read too much on internet. He's like, just put two cold potatoes on. I swear to God, he said this to me. I swear, I'm not exaggerating. It's like two cold potatoes on ice and lie down for a day, and next day you're perfect. And that's when I knew this guy was.
you knew that guy had a little bit of an interesting
Yeah, he was.
outlook.
Yeah, like
Do you think he can still see today? That was a few years ago.
I don't know. He builds roofs now, so
So I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah.
In Canada, like with
In
snow?
Canada, yeah, he got his Canadian wife actually. So
Okay,
and he
so
got
he got his
he's
goals.
got his goals.
He
Yeah,
got his goals. Hope he's happy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but
Maybe.
Arkadsy will talk soon.
Oh goodness.
Um,
Yeah, so but were there anything that's like even unplanned, not a waste of time, but a mistake? Because I know there's so many different stories where you'd call me or we'd discuss and you're like, hey, I'll throw a struggle with this at this point, or hey, the bakery's struggling with this, is hey, we made this mistake, or hey, this thing. And it decided like how you raised capital or how you do things, it changes how you do in the future. is there anything specific that you'd like to discuss
Mm.
in regards to just like, cool, I'm not doing that again? Because
It's
to be honest, I could do it we could even go back to all the way to the time where you caught your heel edge wakeboarding and
yeah, yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like, oh, and you're like, remember
yeah,
I said not to do it?
yeah.
And you're like, yeah, when I'm trying my 180 and it went way out and you
But
catch
then,
your heel edge. Oh,
but the thing is, my argument for that is that now that I've went through that, I will learn to never do it again. So the thing is, like, I feel like
okay, fair. So you don't really, yeah,
I don't really value anything that I would never do again because I know I will never do it again, right? So I think there's a lot of experiences that I went through, and I'm like, that was not the best way to do that. And I know now that it's not the best way to do that, so I'm not going to do that. So like that's kind of my perspective on things that have kind of brought me forward is like, okay, was that a really good move? No. But am I going to do it again? No. So,
yeah, okay, fair. Yeah, that's fair. There's been a few of those growing up that I've
a
seen.
lot.
You've seen a lot with me too. I think
Yes.
I used to do some of the videography for the wakeboarding stuff. I'd like
Yeah.
fall. You'd be like, you okay? I'd be like, yeah, I'm
Yeah, it's
fine.
like
I'm just done for the
completely
today.
winded, does a backflip, just yeah.
Just unconscious in the water, almost
Oh,
dying. Like, yeah, no, no, yeah. We've been around for a lot of each other's mistakes.
mhm. The
So
jock on my face. Remember there?
okay, yeah, that was a mistake you made where you put a jock right on your face. Sure, you could tell that story if you want.
Okay, sure.
We'll
That
do a
was the
quick one.
first
It
year.
sounds way worse because we're like in our
Okay, well,
20s now and talking about millionaires. This was not like last month, okay?
this is yes, this
This
was
is
not. It was when I was like I was 5. Anyways, it was first year at camp, and going back to the hockey story, my mother dropped me off, no hockey equipment, nothing, of course, to a hockey camp. Like I don't know what she was thinking.
she literally just dropped you off at camp. You got out. She didn't even sign you in. She's like, yeah, go to camp. You went to
Bye.
camp and then you left, and we're driving away. Your parents were driving away. My dad calls your mom and goes, hey, uh, your kid's here. She goes, yeah, it's a camp, right? Yep. Well, where's hockey equipment and stuff? What do you mean hockey equipment? So long story short, we go to town, we get Max all hockey equipment. With his mom's blessing. Man couldn't carry any of it. He's like 4 or 5. So I carry it in, I set it all down, then I'm going to help some of the rest of their kids. I'm like 7 or 8, pretty young. And I come back, and the only thing Max has on is the jock. However, he has it on his nose and his mouth, and that was one of the funniest little mistakes. Oh, that was one of the funniest things. That's when Tom was the coach.
So yeah, yeah,
Tom
yeah.
McCarthy, he was drafted before Wayne Gretzky there, and he used to be your coach up north. And yeah, he still told that story a few years later, just because he's like that 4-year-old. The only piece of equipment you know to put on was the jock, and he even put it on the right spot. Yeah, and he's a funny dude.
Uh,
So I'm just going to briefly ask this question, kind of change the topic, but was there any aha moments in your illustrious career of university student, Altura, or baking that you're literally doing something and you're like, I've been banging my head against the wall for a month. And now it's like, if I just knew this one piece of advice, I knew this one thing, because I will say you've been very fortunate to have good people in your life to help
yeah,
get you
that's what I.
information and mentor you. But is there any one spot where, because you can only have mentors in your Web3 space there, you're like, and you're like, well, he had me with camp and stuff and other things, but like university mentors, it's not like you had your mom was there, but it's just different. Is there anything that you're banging your head against the wall on any assignment or anything like that,
Mm.
or you went, that would have been great if I had a mentor? And how did that make you feel? Or you just felt like you've been like,
It's it's a collection of that one thing. It's like there's a lot of one things that all I do is deal with problems. And it always requires like there's like that one thing. It's like, oh, this thing is not printing something well. Let's flip it over so it prints properly, right? There's like a lot of little one things. But I think the one thing that maybe has gotten me to where I am today is the mindset that I've placed myself in. And the mindset is that anything is possible if you're driven enough to do it. And there's a lot of ways you can take that. Um, but
like buy a submarine?
by summary, I don't know, like
We'll do
that's
it in a couple of years.
a couple,
That won't. That's not
sure,
it right now. It's the Toronto Harbor's a little frozen right now.
a
Not worth it.
little cold, yeah, a
A
little bit cold.
little cold. And camp, the lake is too small. Up at Clear Lake there, yeah.
But it just pushing yourself forward and having a growth mindset and being open to new ideas, right? Like a lot of the big failures in this world is because people weren't open to new ideas. For example, BlackBerry, the company BlackBerry that used to sell the phones, they were closed off to the idea that people are going to like touchscreens and they will prefer their touchpads that BlackBerry had. And because of that, they lost out to the forward thinkingness of Apple at the time that basically said, hey, imagine, look at all the things. I know the technology is not the best as it could be right now, but look at our vision going forward.
Mm.
And people at BlackBerry were so closed off to their own mindset that they weren't able to overcome the innovation and they weren't able to grow with new information.
Yeah. So would you say that you've learned more from your successes or learned more from your hardships, or what's shaped your mindset more? You know, that mindset of innovation. Is that
Yeah, what
like success or failure? What do you learn more from, you think?
look, when things are going well, you have a big ego, you're living life. When things are going really bad, you really have to evaluate your life and realize, holy shit, what am I going through? And if going through that, you learn a lot more about yourself. You have to force yourself to grow, literally, because when things are not going right, you have to fix them and you have to push yourself outside your boundaries to fix that problem. So,
Yeah.
for all the hardships I faced in my business life, I've grown I've infinitesimally more than I would have if I was doing well. Because when you do well, you're everything you think is, oh, I'm doing great. Like I like my thinking is perfect. Like I am like you really get in your head. But when things aren't going well, you really take a step back and you have to figure out, hey, how am I gonna fix this? How am I gonna grow so I get out of this position? And ever since, that's kind of the mindset that I keep, that even when things are going well, that you have to be keep pushing yourself forward because that's the only way you're going to grow.
Yeah, it definitely does. As my father says, a smooth seas never made a skilled sailor.
Yeah.
When things are going easy, most people can handle it. So yeah, it's definitely a good point there. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of think forward and all this kind of thing, but my specific, I would like to steer the conversation more towards now. Um, I guess you can say half your life is extremely conventional in the way that everybody needs to eat, and half of life is unconventional, like how you're living, your age, your other businesses. Is there any one unconventional business that you saw and identified and like you're like, this is why I'm going after it? You know, as yeah. With the baking is like, okay, now we're gonna do bigger rolls, smaller rolls with other like is there some specific niche that you're like, this is gonna what we're gonna do, or you're just gonna
Today, I even had a conversation. So we're trying to compete against some other roll company. I'm not going to mention them here, but we're looking at a whole bunch of different form. This is a constant thing, but on a bigger picture, because you're
yeah.
looking at innovations, this is kind of where I want to take my life. You see here, let's see what happens in 20 years from now. I'll be curious, but um, I want to figure out a better way for people to have better food. So this is I'll talk about my first goal. And that is in vertical farming. So right now, farming is done on large fields and they're subject to a lot of, you know, things that happening in the world, more diseases, um, the effects of climate change. And, while that's debated, I believe that there's going to be an effect on our crop yields and the quality of food that we do receive from these mass farms that use, a lot of pesticides and genetic modifications to kind of support that large grow size. And the transportation cost of bringing foods and vegetables from the farm to on your table is very, very high. So I want to explore bringing, very dense vertical farming closer to cities where basically you take, instead of having a flat field, one layer, you basically bring a farm and bring it into many single layers that could be in a apartment building 10 stories high. And you know,
Yeah.
a kilometer across.
Yeah, I have
And
some pretty interesting connections actually in that world. Some of my friends from university that actually did stuff in like shipping containers and they're really tight, like hydroponics and the farming and
yeah,
stuff, and they're doing their PhD in it now. So we should actually touch base
yeah,
after the
we'll
call about
touch,
that.
well, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So how do you balance this your modicum of success, this lifestyle you have, who you are as a person, with the other goals of success in life, as in relationships, your physical well-being, your any other form of health you find important, like
Hmm.
eating, right? Like,
Yes.
well, how do you balance that? How do you find, is there
I
like
don't
a
think you can have balance. There's when you're,
okay,
I
that's a juicy
no,
opinion.
I don't think like the thing is if you're really pushing your needle forward, you're going to be imbalanced in some aspects 100% because if you are really pushing yourself and really growing yourself, it's hard to have balance. And, there's ways people that help to try to soothe that balance, like working out, hanging out with good people. But, when you're really pushing hard, you're not balanced. You're growing a business, you're not going to be balanced. You're have a lot of responsibility, you're doing a lot of things. And, if you want balance, a 9 to 5 job will give that to you. And that's okay. That's like it's if that is good for you and you will feel happy doing that, then great. That's fine. But if you want to create a business, there's a lot of responsibility, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of money, and it's not easy. And so that's where the imbalance comes in because you are the one really ultimately responsible for what happens.
That's kind of funny because my whole thing was, okay, how do you find balance and how do you do it? You're like, no, I'm not balanced.
I'm not balanced.
Yeah, that's
I come back from work and I'm just like, whoa,
yeah.
and it's just like he
I'm gonna
drains
be
the soul out of you.
I'm gonna be curious to how you feel about that in 5 years, kind of thing, and just see down the line because right now it's obviously working well. Like you're doing well and you're making a lot of actual major changes to big industries that everybody at home can actually kind of know and understand and
Yep.
feel. So that's that was definitely like even for me that was an unexpected answer. I don't know what. Yeah, that's uh that's kind
I
of
try to
wild.
keep
So
it unexpected.
yeah, well
What can you
that
say?
kind of that's I don't know. I guess we can transition into the idea that leads easily from that is what advice do you have for somebody between the ages of 12 to 30? Any of the people that that's our target demographic here,
Try
anybody.
things. Try things. Go out, do something. Fail. Have the like if you don't feel confident in yourself, do that. Do things that inspire confidence in yourself to try things. Go out there and give it your best shot because giving it your best shot at every opportunity and trying things will make you learn a lot of things about yourself in which you can figure out where you can best apply yourself to provide value and create value. So
No,
go do it.
yeah,
I'm looking at you.
I like that idea that just go out and try things. It's interesting because we see so many people on the internet. We've met so many people over the years that are like, I get up at 4 a.m. and I run this, and I've my dad's a guy that gets up early. Your dad's a guy that gets up whenever,
Yeah.
right? Like they're both considered successful human beings and in their own rights and different things. And it's just like some people are like, I go to the gym and I need to eat like this and I need to drink this much water and this kind of thing. And you're like, no, man, just go do it. Just I don't know, learn along the way. Just jump right in
Just
and
jump
figure it
because
out.
the thing is you can read about doing something or an industry for years and you can know a lot about it. But unless you actually go do it, you won't actually know what the industry is like. You could talk about, I can read a book on commercial baking. And it's like, okay, I understand commercial baking, but then try it. Oh my God. It's a lot
So,
different.
so how would you recommend, I guess my piece of advice that I'll get the specific one specifically from you is how do you recommend people go about trying things? Because commercial baking, that wasn't your initial idea of yours, right? You're like you
No.
were pushed like how would you recommend somebody else goes out? Do they go out try to make friends? Do they try to just spin signs in the streets? I want to try new things because I feel like that wouldn't really work out.
Okay,
If you're a 16-year-old kid in the streets, I want to try new things with a sign. You're probably not going to get the same situations you've been put in, dude. So like, how do you just recommend go out and try it? Like, how do you know what you want to try?
exactly.
Like, how do you get into
I don't
that?
know if you have a passion about something, you're interested in something. It could be, playing video games and you're really good at playing, and you can think that you can play competitively and there's a real shot. Give it a shot, maybe. Or you're, really good at making
But,
pizza.
but how do you know if you're good at something? That's my thing. Is like, how did you know you were going to be good at managing bakeries and stuff? How did you get in?
I
How do you
didn't.
try it?
I didn't. I took a leap of faith, as you could say, because I didn't know, and it was intimidating. But I was open to learn, and basically any opportunities that came up, I didn't kind of close my mind and say no. I said, okay, how do we do this? Let me try this.
So yeah, I was gonna kind of lead into the way that like how do you find opportunities, but that's then you go out searching. I think the best thing with your mindset is that you recognize there are opportunities and
Everywhere.
actually say yes to them and learn and like choose the opportunities when they come your way. You're like, I don't know about this, but try it, right?
Yeah.
It's because I think that's the majority of the population where they would struggle is in the way that they don't necessarily recognize the opportunities, much
Hmm.
less go about them. And so you are recognizing the opportunities every day, and it's how do you see opportunities in front of you? Is it like does somebody walk in like Max start a bakery, or like you kind of look and you're like, okay, no, I had a friend suggest this, and now I'm gonna look into it and do a little bit more. Like, do you do research on them? Like, how do you find an opportunity?
Um, it's just I think I was lucky with the people that I am around, and that's why it's so important to have really good people that you interact with and build with, because if they see that you can be valuable or provide value even though you don't know something, or even if you have a couple of buddies or friends that are smart, they're motivated, are driving you in a good way, you can go out and build things together which will take you to the next level, or meet the next people that can bring you forward, and just keep pushing yourself to meet new people that will support you, will grow
Yeah,
you.
I think
um
that's really important. I think that's kind of where the quintessential essence of what you're talking about is that you need to put yourself in a scenario to give yourself the opportunities. Like you met Maj at the University of Toronto. You met some of your other business partners, some of the other things you're doing, like Michael, like Trevor, like these people around
yeah,
being in an area with like-minded people.
yeah,
That's whatever an apartment building, that's whatever. It's, you're not going to find people that are willing to start an NFT Web3 company with me at Kids Camp necessarily. Our Kids Camp, our mindset was a little different, right? Like I'm up there with an axe and I'm splitting
yeah,
stuff and I'm building them. I'm teaching you carpentry and stuff. Like I've had more of these opportunities coming to the city with you and finding like-minded people here with you
yes,
than I have being 4 hours north in the bush. And so sometimes it does take a bit to just the opportunity that you have to recognize is go somewhere to a new school, go change your like box. If you don't like your peers, or if you're
yeah,
struggling that your peers, you don't know what to do, and nobody knows what to do, you have to make to change your physical aspect, right? Like I've
exactly.
seen you change as a human from where you changed your physical location, right? Like going to U of T and staying in res, you didn't necessarily need to. You had family
No.
in Toronto, but doing that is changing your
um,
physical location gave you basically all these opportunities.
Unlocked so many possibilities and
Yeah.
things. Yeah. So like me getting into a good university got me around a lot of really smart people. That was the bedrock and foundation of starting something, trying to do
Mhm.
something interesting.
You
Right.
just need to get yourself out and experience life
Yeah.
and be open to all the possibilities and
Yeah.
opportunities. I think that's a really good way to close off this interview, this podcast, is that that's all it takes is just go out there, try new things, and be open to new people and new opportunities, but also really just pay attention to what's happening around you and make the best option with
Yeah.
what you have. Yeah.
Jump into the opportunities because they're always out there. Just gotta jump into it and give it a shot.
So, hot tub, jump in. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's
Let's
go.
do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, well, well. That brings us to the end of the first fantastic episode of Young and Successful. We hope you had as much fun listening as we've had sharing these amazing insights and stories with you. Remember, making the first million is not just about the destination, it's about the journey, the lessons learned, the challenges conquered, and the laughter along the way. So don't forget to enjoy every step of your success story. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please give us a virtual high five by subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with your fellow dreamers and doers. And hey, if you've got a story to share, want to be a guest, or a topic you want us to dive into, slide on our DMs or drop us an email. We would love to hear from you. Until next Friday, stay young, stay hungry, and keep chasing those millions with a smile on your face. This is Carl Grin signing off. Catch you on the next episode of Young and Successful, where dreams meet dollars. And always remember, there's a million ways to make $1,000,000.